Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. The Los Angeles Board of Supervisors passed an ordinance that would give them the power to remove other elected officials. Now it's up to voters to approve or deny the measure on the November ballot. The large furniture rental company Rent-A-Center is set to pay millions back to California consumers. The state's attorney general said the company allegedly overcharged for its leases. The McKinney fire continues to burn and grow in Northern California. The death toll has increased to 4. Los Angeles supervisors recently voted to put an ordinance on the ballot that would give them greater power. The measure is asking voters to decide whether the board can remove elected officials, specifically the LA sheriff.
The Los Angeles Board of Supervisors voted to put an ordinance on the November ballot in an attempt to remove the Los Angeles County Sheriff, Alex Villanueva. The measure passed in a 4-1 vote, with Supervisor Catherine Barger dissenting. Barger said in a statement, giving the Board of Supervisors the authority to remove an elected sheriff unequivocally takes away power from the public. She added, the measure overlooks the recall process for elected officials who fail to uphold their duties. If voters pass this legislation into law, it would allow officials to remove a sheriff by a 4/5 vote. The measure comes as the board has clashed several times with Villanueva. The disputes are over his law enforcement tactics and not requiring his deputies to be vaccinated against COVID-19. The board also imposed a hiring freeze on his department in February, while voting to terminate unvaccinated county employees. Villanueva said in a letter to the board that the motion is an effort to sabotage his election campaign. He also calls it a recipe for public corruption. Villanueva will go head-to-head with former Long Beach Police Chief Robert Luna, who has been endorsed by all county supervisors in the general election.
Rent-A-Center is set to pay millions back to Californians. The large furniture and electronics rental company is settling charges for allegedly making customers overpay to rent or purchase products. Tens of thousands of Californians who entered into a preferred lease agreement and rented merchandise with a Rent-A-Center kiosk are eligible to receive restitution or payments. On Tuesday, California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced a settlement with the company.
Today, I'm announcing a $15.5 million judgment, including over $13 million in restitution. That's money that will go back into the pockets of consumers, against Rent-A-Center, one of the largest rent-to-own companies in the nation.
Bonta said since 2014, the company overcharged preferred leased customers with a cash price that was 15% higher than retail.
Furnishing a home is expensive, we know that, and consumers often hope these rent-to-own agreements will lessen the cost, not realizing the total price they pay will end up being much higher.
The Attorney General's office said this was based on an investigation into its kiosks inside retail stores.
And beyond these extra costs, we allege that Rent-A-Center also misled consumers about the most fundamental aspects of their preferred lease products, such as the right to return merchandise at any time with no penalty.
The company did not admit wrongdoing in the settlement. According to its annual report, the company had over 2,400 stores in the United States, Puerto Rico, and Mexico at the end of 2021. The rent-to-own industry consists of dealers that rent household goods, such as furniture and appliances, at extremely high prices to low or moderate income consumers. Search teams have located 2 more bodies in an area scorched by forest fire raging for a 5th day in Northern California, near the Oregon border. In total, 4 lives have been lost in the state's biggest blaze this year.
According to the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office, the latest 2 victims were found at separate homes along a highway that runs through the McKinney fire in the Klamath National Forest. Authorities said no further information would be released on any of the deaths until positive identification is made and the next of kin have been notified. Some evacuees from the town of Wairika were staying at an evacuation center at a community center in the neighboring city of Weed.
I moved here recently moved to Wairika recently from South Carolina, and there was a fire. We knew there was a fire. We just didn't think it would reach us. And about 2 days ago, we were sitting in a park. I was sitting with my kids and one of my friends, and YPD came by and said, "Hey, the fire's about 4 miles out. You guys got to evacuate now." And we stopped at the gas station first, and then we came on up here, and that's like the first sign you see when you get off the interstate is the evacuation center sign. So here we are.
They put some mandatory evacuations in order for the west side of I-5 in Wairika, and some warnings on the west side. I live on the east side, but felt that it was prudent to get out of there before we absolutely had to.
One rural town was nearly wiped out. 80-year-old Roger Derry and his son with almost the same name, Roger Derry, have lived together in the small town of Klamath River, not far from the Oregon border, for more than 40 years.
When that fire came over that ridgeline, it had 100-foot flames for about 5 miles, and the wind was blowing it. It was just coming down like a solid blowtorch. There was nothing to stop it.
They know most of the town's 200 or so residents. Now they're one of the few families left.
It's very sad. It's very disheartening. Some of our oldest homes, 100-year-old homes, are gone. It's a small community. Good people, good folks for the most part live here, and in time we'll rebuild. But it's going to take some time now. We've been really badly devastated.
According to an update from a fire behavior analyst on Wednesday morning, there was some rain on Tuesday, but some parts of the fire didn't get any.
This area of the fire, the east side, some areas got up to 3 inches of rain in just over an hour. The end result of that was we had a lot of debris flow. It compromised some of the roads. We actually had to have some crews shelter in place until they can get out today and assess the roads, because there's several bridges that have a lot of debris pushed up against it. So we just want to make sure that their egress route is safe, but that's why we carry MREs and things on the fire engines, because we're always prepared for that.
Roughly 4,500 people were under evacuation orders as of Tuesday. As of Wednesday, the fire has charred over 57,000 acres and is 0% contained. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
A convicted murderer who was freed last year is back, facing charges. The rise of cases like this has triggered a recall attempt of the district attorney responsible, George Gascon.
Just last year, Andrew Cachu was freed from prison after being convicted of murder. Recently, Los Angeles deputies found him slumped over a steering wheel with a firearm in his waistband. They suspected he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. When deputies tapped on his window, he fled in the vehicle and later crashed while driving the wrong way on a freeway. Cachu is now back in custody, facing 11 new charges. He pleaded not guilty to all of them. District Attorney George Gascon said, "We are disappointed to learn that Mr. Cachu has not availed himself of the support that he so clearly needs." In October 2016, Cachu was convicted of murder and robbery in the shooting death of 41-year-old Luis Amila in Los Angeles. Cachu admitted to the shooting while in a jail holding cell with 2 undercover deputies. He is being held on a $1.33 million bail while awaiting his hearing on August 1st. The court will determine if there is enough evidence to move the case forward to a trial.
Election observers will not be allowed to view the recall election of George Gascon.
According to officials, election observers won't be allowed to monitor the recall of embattled Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon. Michael Sanchez, the Los Angeles Registrar spokesman, told the Washington Observer that observers can participate in normal elections, but recalls have different requirements. He says that due to the California government code, which says petitions for ballot measures aren't public record. But Tim Lineberger, a spokesman for the recall campaign, told the paper that voters have the right to monitor the recall. Clearly, the examination of a recall petition is part of the recall process. this would be a very narrow interpretation on their part. He cited California Election Code 2300, which stipulates that Californians have the right to ask questions about election procedures and observe the election process. Earlier this month, the recall effort hit a key milestone and delivered over 715,000 signatures to the Los Angeles County Registrar's Office. This exceeds the 566,000 signatures needed to put Gascon on the ballot for a recall election. The recall was triggered amid a wave of criticism against Gascon, who was elected in late 2020 and promised to bring progressive change to the district attorney's office. But top law enforcement officials and other critics say that he pursued a left-wing agenda while allowing repeat offenders as well as violent criminals back on the streets.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. Paul Pelosi was arraigned early Wednesday morning for DUI charges. Pelosi pleaded not guilty. San Francisco allowed non-U.S. citizens to vote in certain elections for a period of time, but not anymore. A judge recently overturned the law, so only American citizens will once again be voting in the Bay Area city. That and more on California Today. Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, pleaded not guilty to DUI charges on Wednesday. The judge wishes to continue the case later.
At Paul Pelosi's arraignment in Napa County Superior Court on Wednesday, Pelosi pleaded not guilty to DUI misdemeanor charges before Judge Monique Langhorne. Under California law, Pelosi can appear in court through his attorney on a misdemeanor case and does not have to be present in the courtroom unless ordered by a judicial officer. The Napa County District Attorney's Office filed charges against him after he crashed his Porsche while driving under the influence in Napa. He was arrested on May 28th and was charged with DUI. Law enforcement said he had a 0.08% blood alcohol level, which is above the legal limit. He could face up to 5 years of probation, a minimum of 5 days in jail, fines and fees, and other terms as appropriate.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taiwan despite condemnation from China. Chinese Americans are divided on the trip.
Some Chinese Americans applaud Pelosi's support for Taiwan and its democratically elected government, but others worry that her visit could worsen the U.S.-China relations.
There are 2 points of view in the community. Some are strongly pro-Taiwan and think that the U.S. demonstration of support for Taiwan is critical. Others are much more focused on better relations between mainland China and the United States and view this visit as exacerbating that relationship and coming at a time that makes it more difficult.
Pelosi arrived in Taiwan late Tuesday, becoming the highest-ranking American official in 25 years to visit the self-ruled island claimed by China. She flew in aboard a U.S. Air Force passenger jet and was greeted at Taipei's International Airport by Taiwan's foreign minister and other Taiwanese and American officials. She posed for photos before her motorcade whisked her unseen into a parking garage of a hotel.
Well, I think this visit has been welcomed wholeheartedly by the people of Taiwan and the people in the Taiwanese government as well. And so should it be. I mean, I think when you have the representative of the world's most powerful democracy visit Taiwan, a fellow democracy, as a show of support for Taiwan, it is a very strong demonstration of solidarity. With the people there.
But China quickly announced that it would conduct military maneuvers in retaliation for her presence. There's tension because China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, and it views visits by foreign government officials as recognition of the island's sovereignty.
It could cause the economic picture to be even more gloomy than it already is, given the dependence on tourism and trade from China that this community has benefited from.
The speaker describes the trip as part of a broader mission at a time when the world faces a choice between autocracy and democracy. Her visit comes after she led a congressional delegation to the Ukrainian capital in the spring, and it serves as a capstone to her many years of promoting democracy abroad. The Biden administration did not explicitly urge Pelosi to call off her plans. It repeatedly and publicly assured Beijing that the visit did not signal any change in U.S. policy toward Taiwan. Pelosi kicked off her Asian tour on Monday in Singapore. She is to travel to Japan and South Korea later this week.
Since 2018, nearly all parents in San Francisco were able to vote in school board elections, including those who haven't become citizens yet. A judge recently ruled that this concept goes against California's Constitution. On Friday, a California judge overturned a San Francisco law from 2016 that allowed non-citizen parents to vote in local school board elections. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, the judge said the California Constitution only permits citizens to vote. San Francisco voters approved Proposition N in 2016, which allows non-citizen parents, such as illegal immigrants and legal residents, to vote for school board candidates. It took effect in 2018. In March 2022, attorney James Lacey filed a lawsuit against San Francisco over the law. The lawsuit said, quote, "The state of California has a long-standing requirement that voters must be United States citizens." SF Superior Court Judge Richard Ulmer ruled in favor of the lawsuit, saying that allowing non-citizens to vote is, quote, "contrary to the California Constitution and state statutes and cannot stand." The city may appeal and reinstate the ordinance. The Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously last month to allow the county to hire non-citizens. This will influence all county jobs except law enforcement.
Los Angeles County has recently begun allowing the employment of non-citizens. Under the new so-called inclusive hiring policy, all county departments must waive the citizenship requirement for both current and future positions. Applicants to the Sheriff's Department and peace officers still have to be U.S. citizens. Hilda Solis, a Los Angeles County supervisor, said, quote, "Los Angeles County is a community of immigrants from each corner of the world." The move to change citizenship requirements started back in June 2021. That's when the board started the process to see if they had the authority to waive citizenship requirements. Los Angeles County had over 880,000 non-citizen residents in 2018.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Sports Roundup. Vin Scully, one of baseball's most revered broadcasters who called Dodgers games for a record-breaking 67 years and narrated some of the sport's greatest moments, died on Tuesday at the age of 94. Dodgers president and CEO Stan Kasten said, "We have lost an icon." Scully joined the Dodgers broadcast crew in 1950 when the club still played in Brooklyn. He followed the team to Los Angeles in 1958, where for generations of Southern California fans, he was the soundtrack to summer, personifying Dodger baseball more than any player. He also attracted a national following as the voice of NBC's Baseball Game of the Week and broadcast numerous World Series. In October 2016, when at age 88 he left the Dodgers booth, long since named in his honor, he completed the longest tenure with one team of any professional sports broadcaster. In his final games, he was celebrated by the Dodgers at an emotional farewell ceremony, hailed as a national treasure by the U.S. Congress and the national media, and saluted by fans and players alike with standing ovations. Shortly after his retirement, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, America's highest civilian honor, at a White House ceremony. Known for his golden voice, articulate phrasing, and rich knowledge of the game, Scully announced some of the most historic games in baseball in language almost as memorable as the events he was describing. Mookie Betts drove in 3 runs with a single, a double, and a home run, and 4 relievers combined for 4 innings of shutout ball as Los Angeles prevailed at San Francisco. In beating the Giants for a 6th straight time, the Dodgers never trailed, building as much as a 6-0 lead in the 4th inning. Tyler Anderson managed to earn the win despite allowing all 5 Giants runs in the 4th inning and 6 hits in 5+ innings. Dodgers reliever Evan Phillips, Alec Vesia, Chris Martin, and David Price combined to give up just 1 hit over the final 4 frames. Giant starter Alex Wood went 5 1/3 innings, allowing 6 runs and 9 hits. Dodgers 9, Giants 5. San Diego had already landed a major win for the day, trading for All-Stars Juan Soto and Josh Bell. Still, they followed that up when Trent Grisham hit a walk-off home run with 1 out in the 9th inning for a 3-2 win over the visiting Colorado Rockies and a sweep of a day-night doubleheader. Grisham, who hit a 2-run homer and finished with 3 RBIs in the Padres' 13-5 win in the series opener, drove a hanging break pitch from Alex Colome into the right field seats. It was the first homer allowed this season by Colome, who was making his 42nd appearance. Grisham has homered in each of 3 games, all Padres wins, to begin the 5-game series. San Diego has won 4 games in a row overall and 5 of its past 6. The nightcap win went to fellow newcomer Josh Hader in his Padres debut. Hader was acquired from the Milwaukee Brewers on Monday. Colorado has dropped 4 straight and 6 of their past 7. Jose Iglesias had 5 hits for the Rockies in the doubleheader, and Ryan McMahon had 4 hits. Padres 3, Rockies 2. Los Angeles traded away its starting pitcher, a starting outfielder, and its closer before the game, but their replacements still managed to lead the way to a victory over Oakland in Anaheim, California. Jose Suarez, starting in place of Noah Syndergaard, who was dealt to the Philadelphia Phillies, gave up just 1 unearned run in 5 innings. He allowed 5 hits and 2 walks, while striking out 5. Joe Adell, starting in left field in place of Brandon Marsh, who was also sent to the Phillies, singled and scored. Jose Quijada threw a 1-2-3 ninth to earn his 2nd save of the season. He took over for Raisel Iglesias, who was traded to the Atlanta Braves. Angels 3, A's 1.
As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Liang Jing. Have a wonderful evening.